Richard Rellis in the Republic newsroom for a change here with columnist Bob Robb, and let's set the ground for this. You've said you're not happy with the way the governor or the legislature enacted Governor Ducey's promised a flat tax cut. You've also said that Arizona needs to boost its education funding. But the question you address in this column is whether economic growth is helped more by a low tax environment or by education funding. And you say it is low tax environment.
I do think that it was important for the legislature, to the extent it had the power to do so under the Voter Protection Act, to reverse Proposition 208's sky-high income tax rate. I think the evidence, which I cite in the column, is overwhelming that as a general rule, high individual marginal income tax rates are negatively associated with economic growth. And while I do believe that the way the legislature enacted the reversal of that is a blatant violation of the state constitution's one subject rule. And while I do believe that Arizona should be spending more on K-12 education, I believe first priority needed to be given to reversing the potentially very damaging effects of having one of the nation's highest individual income tax rates would, as a general rule, be likely to create. There's exceptions, but no reason to believe that Arizona is going to be one of the exceptions rather than part of the general rule.
Do you think, had it gone in, had the tax rate stayed the same with the 208 surcharge on top, how immediate do you think the effects would have been?
It will be gradual, and there are challenges to what the legislature has done. You have a couple different avenues of challenging it legally. You have a threat of a referendum. So it's not yet certain that Arizona won't experience whatever the results will be of joining one of the high tax states in the country. It is a general erosion of our record of exceeding the national average. And the two measures that I think matter, employment growth and personal income growth, I think you would see gradually over time, we begin to drop back to the national average and even below it. That's what most high tax states experience. They lag behind the national average in the economic measures that I think are most important, employment and personal income growth.
And again, the column is filled with, I guess, what we could call challenging discussions of statistics. But one of them is that right, there's so many different statistics one can look at for economic growth. And you say one that is misused is per capita growth.
Yes, in terms of measuring economic growth, I call it a statistical magical trick because the way in which an economy is most immediately and greatly expanded is by attracting more workers through population growth. And it's irrefutable that in the United States, there is a migration from high tax states to low tax states. By calculating it on a per capita basis, you magically make that effect, the largest effect on short-term economic growth, disappear. It doesn't matter whether states are repelling workers or attracting them. I just think that people go to an awfully great lengths to try to refute what I think is self-evident, which is that after-tax returns on investment and labor affect relative growth among the states.
You also say that this case should have been made to the voters in November. And I guess what would you say to voters who supported 208, who are now seeing I mean, if not the letter of the law, the spirit of that initiative sort of taken back?
I think it's a very fair criticism, and it's simply the case that the legislature is trying to use whatever wiggle room the Voter Protection Act gets to reverse at least the high income tax rate that Prop 208 provided. It is still funding education to a very high degree. And depending upon a bill that hasn't been resolved, might actually preserve all of the spending that Prop 208 provided. But I do believe that the opposition campaign failed to make an effective economic argument and dealt with that argument very superficially. I was astonished as it was occurring. So I think voters have a right to feel resentful, but given the stakes involved, I think doing what the legislature could to avoid the prospects of having one of the highest individual income tax rates in the country was the right thing to do, even if it wasn't done in what I think is the right way.
Always interesting. And again, this is a lot to unpack and sort through, and we'll see if what the legislature has passed actually stands up, if we're still talking about this throughout the summer. Bob, good to see you.
We probably will be still talking about it for a while. Thanks.